Now that you're all mic'd up, I'm going to just bug you all the time.
I'm really going to regret giving myself a mic.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Cobbler with Cobblers. My name is Lucas, and I am joined here today with...
Nate.
Nate, thanks for joining me.
One of many.
Yeah, one of many. Nate, what's your full name? It's not Nathan, right?
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, okay. So we got a Nathan in the front, Nathaniel in the back. Mm-hmm. So before we get started, let's dig into the cobbler.
Yes, smells delicious.
Yeah, what do we have today? Kelsey?
This is a peach cobbler.
Thank you.
I will say it's a little burnt on top because I just moved, and this is the first time I used the oven.
That's right.
And it was like, I think it was like 50 degrees hotter than what the dial said.
You just call it caramelization.
It was
Yeah,
insane.
exactly.
Well, yeah,
it was intentional, just to give it that little top layer
There's
crisp.
some extra flavor in there.
So if you want to dish up first, Nate.
Sure.
I'll join after you.
No idea how to do this.
Just go with as many biscuits as that looks good. Appreciate you joining me today. Mm-hmm. So first of all, what is your official job title? What do you do here?
I guess my official job title is bootmaker.
Okay.
Because I started here almost 6 years ago, sewing. I had no experience on a sewing machine other than like the required home ec class in high school, but had a knack for it, and then moved from sewing to cutting in the last 2 years. So I'm working on the hydraulic press
Right.
all day.
Right. I honestly completely forgot that you started off sewing. Mm-hmm. That's and you moved. You said 2 years ago, right? Because I feel like you made that transition.
It was just
like
after
2020.
Yeah, just after the start of quarantine. It was like
right. Okay.
Yeah, it was
because before that it was just Ivan on the cutter, right?
Ivan and Allie for a while.
So you started sewing here. You had no prior experience in the sewing industry or anything like that, clothing industry.
Nope.
Really?
Yeah, it was my only sewing machine experience was in high school, senior year, and I sewed a pair of pajama pants and a pillowcase to match them.
Nice.
And then ever since then, I never touched a sewing machine, and then I guess I just had a knack for it.
Big question. Do you still have the pajama pants? Have they held up? No?
Nope. They did not hold up. I went into a growth spurt right after that, and I grew like 3 inches.
Gotcha.
And then they just were like capris, and I was not doing that.
What then? Why'd you come to work at Nick's then? It's interesting because I feel like as far as I know, most people who are in sewing have like prior experience sewing. Like that's the one position back in bootmaking where it's like prior really experience. Yeah. Everything else, it's you don't learn how to do lasting or anything. You learn on the job.
I would say I came to Nick's out of necessity. Okay. I had just left a month prior to getting the job here. My other job of going on a year, it just kept me away from home too much. Gotcha. I was working a lot of out of state. So I quit that job. It wasn't healthy for my marriage. And then I was looking for a job for about a month. I was like, I tried to get a job here a few years prior to this. I applied for a salesman position, working with one of our old coworkers, Kenton.
Okay.
The interview went really bad. So then I reapplied for a production position because that's what I like to do. I like to work with my hands. And then got the job almost immediately.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So you'd heard about that? You had a friend that worked here previously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kenton. He was a fitting and sales for a few years.
Okay.
And then he left, and I was also friends with our IT guy that was here for a little while.
I was gonna say I feel like a lot of your friend group has worked here. Yeah. Like you're friends with Becca and Kelsey.
Yeah. Kelsey and I have known each other for a few years. Rebecca and I, even before that. My wife used to work here as well.
Right.
In customer service.
Yeah. Terriana, who still works here.
Terriana,
yeah.
Yep.
All of you guys. It's like
it's our core little group. It's just all we try to keep each other close.
Right on. How long ago was that you got the job?
October 28th, 2017.
17. Okay, so you've been here like six years.
Almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years now.
This will be the 6th year.
Nice. And sewing for the first 4, cutting after that, and leather.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and the transition from I just took a bite.
That's all right.
Transition from sewing to cutting was pretty rough.
I bet.
I already knew much of what to avoid, what to look out for, because not only was I sewing, but I was also skiving and prepping for it. So I knew like scars, weak points, stuff like that. The part that it was really rough on was going from a sitting position, crouched over a sewing machine because my long legs and everything, to a full standing position.
On your feet all day.
Actually put me into physical therapy for
really
5 months. Yeah.
Wow. Were you wearing our boots at the time?
I was just breaking in my first pair, and they helped a lot.
I was gonna say, did that arch support help at all?
The arch support was, it really straightened up my back, and
Gotcha.
it was a lot of help.
What between like learning how to sew and learning cutting, which of the two was like the longest in terms of like learning curve training, kind of getting into the groove before you felt like you had a handle on it? So I feel like those are two very different skill sets.
They're very different. I would say cutting took a little bit longer. Sewing, I would say, I think Katrina and Serge were saying that I was ready for production quality boots in like a week and a half. I'm a pretty quick learner, and I get muscle memory down pretty quickly. So it's like a week and a half of practice, and I was ready for production. But the sewing machine I was learning on was broken, kept skipping stitches.
Oh no!
And so it was like I had to wait to get a new sewing machine, because this is before we started to grow as much as we have. So once I got the new sewing machine, started in that, and then the cutting took a lot longer because there's so many small little pieces that we just don't see on normal leather. There's mosquito bites that you have to look out for. There's small like veins or very large veins that have like entirely weakened the integrity of the boot that like you didn't know that was there until you cut it.
Right.
So I would say, and then the numbers is like 90 and all these other sizes. 90, 12,
gotcha. Yeah,
going back
upper
and forth,
sizing,
putting all those
patterning,
numbers in your head, what numbers go with what, and then new designs on top of that. It's like, okay, these designs have a little bit different sizing charts, so I have to, add a whole new section of that in my head.
A lot more kind of like problem solving, critical thinking, as opposed to just straight hand-eye coordination of sewing. And what's the best part of your job? What's your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part is that I'm moving around all day.
Okay.
I don't like to sit still for too long unless I'm doing something with my hands, like a Rubik's Cube or whatnot. But I get to listen to podcasts all day. I always have one earplug just in listening to podcasts.
But you don't listen to our podcast.
I haven't listened to our podcast yet. I have a lot of episodes catching up. I kind of like hyper focus on one show for a while. And then once I reach the newest section, I move on to something else.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll probably move on to something else when I reach this. I'm about 2/3 of the way through this podcast.
Okay. Right on. Yeah. That's, it's interesting. Maybe it's just like, you guys can just put the headphones on, get in the zone, get your work done. I'm just giving you a hard time, by the way, about our podcast.
Nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. I take a listen to it every now and then if I see something on Facebook or something. I'm not on Instagram, but if I see something on Facebook, I'll like, oh, that's interesting. Let me go read into that a bit more, and I'll take a look on what we're producing as far as content goes.
Yeah. How many pairs of boots do you own?
I have 2 currently.
2 pairs of boots? What are they?
I have a brown. It was one of our discontinued leathers. It was originally black walnut. Robert. It was a black walnut stampede leather that we had for a little while, and then discontinued because they wanted to move to something else. I think they wanted more of the brown comb XL. And then when I got it rebuilt, we didn't have any more, so I put brown comb XL.
Gotcha.
Because they match close enough that it's you can barely tell.
Okay. So for stampede leather, that's 7 to 8 ounce leather, or is that like CXL thickness?
It's CXL thickness. It's about 6 to 7.
Okay.
It was softer to the touch.
Okay.
It was not quite like suede, but
the tobacco's stampede, right?
Tobacco
we used to do. Okay.
Trying to find any spare leather for a rebuild was a pain. We were looking through this whole shop here trying to find anything that we could any little scrap of rebuild, and just couldn't find any. It was just all gone.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I have what I'm currently wearing is my Steel Predator. officer boot. It's like a Ranger with a no pull loop.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a great looking pair of boots. That leather is awesome. We just launched that last week, actually.
I like it. I get compliments all the time.
Yeah,
about it.
they've worn in really nicely. I feel like gray is kind of
Hit and miss.
yeah,
People
it
either
can
love it
be.
or they hate it.
Well, it's not super common, but at least for the ones I've seen, Cypress, I feel like split some people's opinions, but people loved it.
Yeah, Serge got his pair of Cypress boots. He was really excited for it. And then we got the double stuffed slate, double stuffed gray. And I'm
Becca's
jealous because I was just
boots,
like, man, I should have waited for a gray leather. But
Yeah, that one.
I can get them next year.
Yeah,
My next free pair.
there you go. That one's, it's interesting because like the Predator Steel, I was looking at yours when we did the video, and it almost, in the wear points, it's getting darker, which is pretty common with leather. But like where you wrap your laces around, it's like almost black.
Yeah.
And then that double stuffed it's almost the opposite.
Yeah.
Comes out.
That pull up gets much lighter.
Yeah, it looks black at first, and then just gets lighter and lighter in the in the bend spots, the toe, the heel, and then as it wears, as those oils start to leave the leather, it's just gonna slowly lighten up, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah, I might have to. I just hope that we have enough of it by the time that I can get my next pair.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think we've decided yet if it's going to be a limited option or if it's just going to be a new staple.
Depends on how well it does.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to see the customer reaction, kind of see what people want.
I think people will love it.
Yeah, I mean, just gauging reaction to leather in general with Cypress, I think, we'll probably keep it around as an option. So there should be plenty. Other than two, is there a favorite?
My Steel Predator.
I was gonna ask because I don't think I have ever had a 430 mini, and like just looking at them, there's not much of a difference. But you've noticed like a pretty substantial difference between the two.
Between V-bar and 430, yeah, absolutely. It flexes easier. It gives enough to where you can grip the rocks. Like if you're walking, hiking, whatever. I wear my Steel Predator all day, every day, and they have the 430 on them. And then, but my issue with my brown chromic self Roberts is that they squeak often.
Oh, okay.
Like, I've got it rebuilt twice. And it just continues to squeak.
Man, you just gotta embrace it. It's just part of having good boots. They're gonna squeak a little bit. It just lets everyone around you know you've got some really nice boots on.
It was like it rivals Schuyler's boots when he first started working here. It rivals his boots. Yeah,
you could hear him coming from down the hall.
And I don't like people to hear me coming. So
sometimes you can put a little bit of oil like inside the boot, get the liquid oil and put it in there, let it soak through the insole.
I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, I think Joey did that to his because his were getting really bad the other like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember hearing him.
Yeah, and I haven't heard him squeaking since. Okay. So it works.
Try that out.
Yeah, sometimes it can just be throw a couple nails in the shank and you're good to go. But oil on the insole is a good way to go. I've also seen like just pour a bunch of, obviously don't do these things at the same time, but pour a bunch of talcum powder in there, just like shake the boot up, let it get into the crevices and stuff.
Okay.
And sometimes that will alleviate the squeaking as well. But I've got, I think my favorite pair of boots is my mock toe rebuilds, and they're developing a pretty good squeak now. We just go with it.
Just give in to the squeak.
Exactly. Just give in. We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but like with your job, is there a particular aspect of the job? It's got a longer learning curve, like something that like once you figured it out, you're like, okay, I've got this down.
With cutting?
Yeah.
Cutting specifically?
Yeah.
Trying to think of what we had to help our newest cutter with often. I would say the hardest part is keeping organized.
Okay.
One of the harder parts, because we go through, let's say I've cut 25 boots today. There's going to be, up to 16 different hides that I've cut through, which is 16 different bellies and necks and areas that I deemed unacceptable for a customer's boots. and that's gonna start piling up, and then the more that piles up, like the more you're just drowning. And
Oh,
then
sure.
you're like, okay, I have all these partials, which we can cut false tongues, we could cut, wallets and coasters and stuff from, but like now I have to figure out what's still good to keep out of these partials and what I have to get rid
Right.
of.
Yeah.
And then by that time you're wasting an hour, 2 hours.
Gotcha.
And it's
Yeah.
just, you're not cutting boots during that time.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because when you guys are cutting, you kind of batch it out, right? You split up the tickets based on leather, and so you go through like your walnut orders first.
Yeah,
and
I always
then you'll
go through. I always go by color. Like with like eating Skittles, like I eat the colors in
Oh,
order.
okay.
I always go through colors as far as like black walnut. There's not an order other
Sure.
than like I try to do the work leathers first because they're pretty easy to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And then the heritage leather, there's only one side that you can cut from the heritage, so
Right.
it takes a little bit longer.
Right. And how many, like, you've got a full side in front of you. Typically you can get like what, a couple pairs out of each side.
Ideally 2.5.
Okay.
Um,
And that varies based
that varies
on the leather, right?
based on type of leather.
Mhm.
Other heritage leathers, you're like, I'm only going to get 1.5 out of this because it's super runny, where it like falls in on itself just by like folding it. If you try to test it for any scars underneath, and then it just gets this like spongy look to it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. It starts to kind of bubble a little bit, show wrinkles.
Yeah, we call it runny or spongy in the cutting department.
That's funny. I've heard you guys say like the leather's super runny a bunch of times, and I've honestly had no idea like is the color coming off, but that makes sense.
Certain leather colors, the color does come off, and by the time you're done cutting it, you look like like
the
yellow.
olive CXL.
Yeah, the olive CXL.
I know we got that
the
one
color
batch
just
that
comes
was-
off.
Yeah.
One batch was bad.
With the CXL, do you find that like more often with the CXL than other leathers?
The runny like the colors that come off, the bleeding colors. Olive Chrome XL is the only color that I've seen that happen with so far.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys do in the cutting department is like, I feel like that's, and you can tell me if like you agree with this or not, but like the leather itself, I feel like is one of the biggest parts that separates a good pair of boots from a great pair of boots. Like you can have your 4 rows of stitch lines, you can have your, stitch down construction, hand lasted, heavy duty insole. None of that matters though if it's loose grain, poor quality leather.
The type of leather really does, help decide how good your quality is going to be. Also, where you cut.
Yeah.
If you're cutting quarters from the belly area, where that's always going to be the loosest grain, that's the loosest part of the animal. Your quarters are going to just fall apart.
Sure.
They're going to like gravity's going to take them much sooner, and they're just going to like slump down on your feet like a pair of jeans scrumples at the end of your boots. But if you're cutting from that spine area and the butt, we always cut our vamps from the spine and butt area, so that's the tightest grain. That's going to be the most waterproof naturally.
Gotcha.
It's going to help keep the structure of your toe looking great as long as it can. Is also where the most movement from your boot comes in, so it's going to be keep away from that runniness as much as possible.
Wow.
And then along the spine to about the neck is where we stop, because the neck tends to get, the grain gets loose, but it is boardy. It tends to get stiffer and stiffer.
Gotcha.
And so if you have too stiff of a quarter, then you can't even walk.
Gotcha.
You're not going to get much bend. And then the second part down, that's the same thing from the butt to the neck. We have graphs in our area when we're helping teach new cutters. It's like, this is the best area. This is like still like A grade, S, A, and then B grade, and combining it all to make a really good quality boot.
Interesting.
Is what we do.
So it's not just about like fitting the pieces, the quarter vamp, heel counter. It's not just about fitting that on and making sure it's almost like cuts of beef, I guess. Like every part has its own qualities, and
I would say there's a few people who come back into the when they're giving tours. They'll say, yeah, this is the cutters. They kind of like cut cookies here. It's like cutting cookies, and I'm like, this is my biggest. I get so
it's the
upset
easiest
about
way
it.
to describe it because it's
the easiest way.
It looks like you're using like heavy duty cookie cutters, but I get it.
I do like the analogy of saying it's like cutting beef rather than cutting cookies, because there's very particular areas of where you're going to get the best quality. I hadn't actually thought of that before, but like my biggest pet peeve was when somebody would come back and say, "Yeah, this is where they cut the cookies." I'm like, "It's not cookies."
It does oversimplify the process, because I feel like cookie cutter is such a term for like, it's easy.
I always say, it's like cutting cookies. If you needed a specific amount of chocolate chips and walnuts in your cookie, like you have to have, it's just not.
I'm very particular about my cookies. So. No, but I mean, it makes sense because it's the same animal, right? So it cuts the beef, cuts the leather.
I like that analogy. It's really good.
Just to get the full picture, you said you put the quarters, vamps towards the spine, ideally.
Yeah, the vamps and vamps towards the spine and the butt, because that's going to be the highest, the tightest grain quality, the tightest grain, everything like that. From like hip to neck of the animal, of the hide, is going to be where most of our quarters, or at least we'll try to get as many vamps as we can. I'm doing like 1, 2, I get like 3 vamps, and then the next one from the next area down, which is still just as good. And then I get as many quarters as I can without going too far into the neck, so that I can give people their the highest quality boot possible.
That's awesome. And then what's left? Heel counter and like top facing. Is that? I imagine a little less particular because it's not bending as much.
Heel counter, we try to get from as close to the same area that we do the vamps.
Okay.
Because that's going to be for lasting. We try to help them out by giving them the best quality.
Oh, right.
Because if it's too soft, then it's going to tear. If it's too hard, they're not going to be able to do anything. We've had several boots come back. They're like, "Hey, we can't last this. What did you guys do? Did you cut the wrong size?" Or like, no, the grain's just too tight. We'll get you a new piece. Backstays, pull loops, top face from the neck, because it's I wouldn't say the least important part, but it is the part that's not going to move a whole lot.
Right.
So it doesn't require a lot of strength or tensile,
That makes sense. Yeah. That's really neat.
I would say that we use every part of the hide possible, but we're giving you the best quality possible with what we can.
Right.
And then belts, bags, anything else, coasters,
wallets, keychains, coasters.
That's all still getting used. Is just not for boots, because it's not boot quality leather.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know we used to. I mean, you guys would wheel like a giant bin of leather into that trash can.
Yep.
Every day.
Yeah.
You had a huge bin.
And we still have lots of scrap, like the in between spaces that you just can't get anything out of, or stuff like that, except for maybe like a keychain loop.
Right.
And we still every day we take out our scrap, and then anything that we don't want to throw away that we could still use, we bring to the small shop guys, and they roll our eyes because they're like, another bucket of leather that you're bringing us
back there. But it works. Then we make wallets out of it. We make the keychains. We've got that option: add a keychain, a wallet, a coaster, add a catch-all tray. I mean, anything leather that we can make.
I've made plenty of catch-all trays for myself, just so that I keep my area organized too.
Yeah, they're really handy. I've got a couple on my desk where I throw my keys and my wallet in when I get there in the morning, and that's where they stay till I leave. In terms of like leather and yield, is there a favorite leather to work with?
I love working with brown wax flesh.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like brown wax flesh is one of the leathers that I can get the most boots out of. Most of the time I can get 2.5 fairly easily. Sometimes I can get 3.
Wow.
Because oftentimes with brown wax flesh, you're getting 6-inch boots. They don't usually have toe caps. Toe caps require a whole other section of that, vamp butt area of the hide. I can usually get, 2.5 easily, and then still have plenty for a couple parts for my next boot.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then the imperfections hide a little bit, but once you know what to look for, the imperfections are pretty easy to see. You'll see these like small little like cracks or veins.
Right, like the little splits. Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah.
Where like if you can see the light, I have my light angled properly so that it reflects off of the hide just enough to where any like extra line that has depth to it will shoot the light in a different way, and I can see those easier. And those little cracks I can just see, and I avoid, or I put them in an area that's going to get cut off or reinforced or something like that,
Interesting.
so that I'm still giving people the best quality, but I'm you know,
I would
trying to be
not
smart
have
about it.
I would not have guessed brown wax flesh because just me not knowing a thing about checking leather quality, it seemed like that would be really tough to like catch the imperfect, but maybe that's a good thing, the visual imperfections.
I like working with it.
Do you check like the smooth side when you're doing it, or
I do have a quick glance, and I'll make sure that I mark. Oftentimes with the smooth side, what we'll find is somebody's knife in the tannery had slipped and there's a small cut, or there's like a vein that just showed up, or they'll have, I'm seeing often now that they have not quite sandpaper, but it looked like somebody took a cheese grater to one of the side, like a little section of the inside of it, where it like cracks and is loose. I can feel it, like when I pull on it, I can feel it pull too much for my liking.
Gotcha.
So then I just flip it and I mark where they are on the smooth side so that I can avoid that.
Gotcha. Do you go in there with like a chalk or
a grease pen?
Yeah. Okay.
And then second favorite I would say is like Predator Orange. If the only reason it's second favorite is because the color variation that we get.
I was gonna say,
in one hide you can see 6 different colors all the way through. So or even like we had a roll that we unrolled the other day, and every single hide was a different color. It was all still Predator Orange, but it was all different shades of Predator Orange, and it's so hard to like, okay, you have to say, okay, I have 3 Predator Orange boots. I can get 2 of those from this one hide, and then I have to set that aside because the next one doesn't match, and I'm not going to get I'm not going to have this hodgepodge little thing where
can't have the left and right looking different, and gotta hope that person didn't order 2 pairs of Predator Orange boots that are gonna look different. Yeah, I mean that Predator Orange, I feel like not in a while, but there was a batch a while ago that like it was almost British tan.
We called it Orange Chrome XL.
Orange Chrome XL. Yeah. I like that.
We were joking like, you guys just sent us Orange Chrome XL. Like I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
It was shiny like Chrome XL was. It was this like, it looked like orange peel. It might have been a Seidel like try at Predator Orange, or
I think it was still Horween, because I think I know what you're talking about.
The super dark, like deep red almost.
Like I can catch an old pair of our boots in Predator Orange instantly by the color of that Predator Orange.
I have a part of an old boot that we had torn up. It was like somebody had torn it apart, and so I took off one of the quarters just so I can save it and look at it every now and then, because it's such a pretty leather that you're like, man, this is what it used to be. But I still do like our Predator Orange. I would say the color of it is probably in my top 5.
It's a great color, and it just gets better and better with time. It's one of those that like new, it's all right. It's a good leather, but like it's like I almost feel like we just have to have one used sitting around the shop at all times, because like no, this is what you need to look at. This is what it's gonna be. Yeah, I've got my first pair next was a 8-inch Urban Lager in Predator Orange. And they've just darkened up so nicely over time.
I like it a lot.
Beautiful. What about your least favorite leather? Is it all of CXL?
It isn't.
Oh.
And I know there's a lot of people that love it because it's been a pretty popular leather, but I do not like Dublin Natural.
Oh, that is not what I expected.
Yeah, I do not. I get the appeal of it. I like how it changes every moment that you touch it. To me, it just doesn't feel like boot leather. In my opinion, I haven't touched a fully completed pair yet, but looking at it is like, that just looks like a bag leather. Why, it would be really good bag leather.
I see, yeah.
But I don't like it because you're trying to give people the cleanest boot possible as far as avoiding scars, and like, because scars could be deeper imperfections that tear eventually, and the way Dublin is tanned is to accentuate those scars, to really show people that this was an animal. It's genuine leather.
I mean, natural leather in general has got to be pretty tough for you guys back there to like really find the good cuts of, because it shows everything.
Wicked and Craig, like English tan and like tan, medium brown and chestnut are always really hard because those are the lighter colors, and so you can just see those scars just
Right. Yeah.
show everywhere.
Yeah. Because I mean, you guys are essentially trying to find perfection in what is like
And
by
imperfect,
definition an imperfect material.
yeah, it's a biological material. You can't
Yeah.
find imperfection in it unless it was biologically engineered to be perfect. And these cows just aren't. They've had a whole life, and you can see, every now and then we'll get a hide with a little bullet hole.
Right.
Yeah.
I know even
Right in
in
a lung area.
yeah, in bootmaking, they've even Nick has told me about this. They found like midsole insole material where there's still like a buckshot embedded in the leather.
We found in a hide where
Really?
yeah, we pulled it out of our cutter Red Owl. He went to cut it, and his knife skipped on something, and he was like, that was weird, and so he cut the whole section away, and he looked at it, and then little buckshot pellets came out from in the skin. So this guy, whoever shot it, was like super far away, and
Right.
it just
Probably
these hides are so
like,
tough, just went in, and
it's probably shooting a bird or something, and
Yeah.
over the hill, this cow is standing there.
yeah, and it just got touched with a little bit of buckshot.
Wow.
It probably didn't barely even felt it because it was still in the the skin layer that the hides are from. But it's crazy to like come out and like, oh yeah, that's you can see where people are like hunting a cow where they get the lung shot, and every now and then it's just like, that doesn't make sense.
That's
Why are
insane.
you why are you hunting a cow?
Yeah, this farm raised cow.
Yeah, it's
like,
a
what are you
farm raised
doing?
cow. Who are you?
I would hope that is 100% a mistake. But yeah, that's really interesting. And it's funny because like personally, I love the scars. I love the marks because it shows that it's like a natural material, where it's like genuine leather, like low grade leather is always super like heavily finished, top coat on top coat to hide everything because it's the low quality stuff. And so like I like when I like look at my boots and I see a little bit of a stretch mark or something like that. And it's funny because I feel like it's taken some convincing of and not in a bad way, it's super high standards, but like Ivan of being like, no, it's okay, we can cut from this. I know it doesn't look perfect, but structurally, if it's sound like this, like in special cases like Luke's boot, for example.
That was the first boot that came to mind. He came to us and he's like, I want it cut out of the neck. I want the vamps cut out of the neck. And it was like we were like gagging as we're cutting it. Like it's not feel good to do that. But
his
he
boots
wanted
were...
these, as much character in that we call it. We just always call it character. Want as much character in his boots as possible, and they look great.
They're beautiful. I don't know if you know, he won.
I heard, he won the Patina Thunderdome.
He gets a free trip to Japan because
That's
of
insane.
those boots that made you gag.
Yeah, that's well. I'm glad that my pain can be somebody else's benefit, I guess.
But yeah, I feel like there's certain situations where it looks really good. Like, we for fun we did those gator boots, which came out like flawless.
Yeah.
But I've seen some gator where it's got like scars through the leather. You can see that like this wild gator got in a fight with another one. I've seen Western boots and stuff like wild American alligator where they've done that. It's it looks really cool.
Yeah, those gator boots. It was fun to watch and like make sure, like plan out. I didn't cut them. Ivan cut them, but he helped like plan out how each cut was going to be made so that they were almost mirrors of each other. And it took like 20, 25 minutes of planning before we were actually cutting it.
Sure.
And they turned out really well.
Well, yeah, I think that's one thing I really like about that pair of boots is like you talked about, cutting from the specific sections. I think how methodic your work is doesn't really show in most, like a black rough out pair of boots. You can't tell that how much time was taken, but you can see in that pair of boots, like you said, everything's mirrored perfectly. All of these, it's this like perfect pairing of like these, natural materials, the lines and everything, perfectly lined up with these, man-made, the stitch lines and the cuts and everything. Those boots came out really cool.
Yeah, they did.
I never in a million years thought I'd like a mock toe wedge sole pair of gator boots but I could not stop looking at those
My
things.
my wife said they put a wedge sole on it.
Yeah.
She was like so upset.
The whole joke was it was a crocodile boot,
Yeah,
which I came up with that.
I love that it was called
Even though it's
crocodile, but it was
alligator.
alligator hide.
Yeah, I know. I know. You got to make sacrifices for the puns.
What about you, Kelsey? Do you like scars or imperfections? Been a
I
while since
do.
we asked.
I do actually. Well, I really like the shrunken bison leathers.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
because
yeah,
they have so
they're
much
really
character
pretty.
in it. I'm also a big fan of the showing the character and the imperfections of it because it's like it was a living creature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
that's cool.
That's
Yeah.
also one of my, not to like put a downer on it, but that's also one of my least favorite to work with
Because
because
how
of the
visible-
character.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much character and it looks so good. I love how it looks. I would absolutely wear a pair of my own. But looking at a hide and you're like, oh man, there's this little slice here, but it's
Mhm.
like the perfect area, so you have to try and move it around to see if you can put it in an area that's going to get reinforced, or see if it's going to get cut away on like on the edge of the vamps. Most of that will get cut away in lasting. But the shrunken bison has got a lot of character and a lot of it can hide, which makes the cutting
Right.
way
I think you
harder.
guys showed me when we first got some of that in, where I was like, these scars are beautiful. Like, can you throw those? Like, can we do a pair intentionally with those scars? I just want to see it. And I was like, no, look.
And he
And bent
pulled
it, and it like
It just
yeah.
separates. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, just the planning that has to go into it of like, everything you've talked about before, and just this is what it looks like now, but once you bend it and you last it, like, you guys have to consider all of that.
And every now and then too, we get boots coming back from Surge, and he'll bring it back. He'll set it on our desk and say, "Look at this." And then what we didn't catch is like a massive scar running diagonally across the vamp, where like
And
we
doesn't
wouldn't
show
have seen
until you
that until
pull.
they really pulled on it.
Yeah.
Because we're not lasters. We're not going to pull with all that strength in
Right,
the
right.
pliers. So things just pop up,
Yeah.
or they, with that Dublin leather, when they pull it over the toe, I would say 5 times out of 10 it tears,
Wow.
and we have to restart.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of stress they put that leather in, it's you have to have some like the most durable leather you can. And I will say that natural Dublin, I was also kind of surprised. I can see the appeal, but not for me personally. But like, yeah, we sold like 150 pairs worth,
Yeah, we sold a lot of it.
and probably more than we should have. Mostly just because we weren't prepped for that, and it just kind of blew up. But yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into it that like I didn't even know about. It's incredible.
Yep. We try to give people the best, best quality, highest quality boot that we can, regardless of how long it takes.
Yeah. Outside of work and cutting leather and making boots, what kind of hobbies do you have?
Video games.
Okay.
Played a lot of video games. I have a 2.5-year-old, and so I'm
All right.
a
Yeah.
home dad on the weekends. My wife works, and so I am watching my son, and that takes up a lot of time. I just recently got into gardening, like farming.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like homesteading.
Oh.
So I got a bunch of tomato plants and some lemon cucumber and
Nice.
strawberries, and so trying to do like at home, like homestead.
Yeah. Do you guys have a pretty good space for that?
No.
Oh, really?
No, we have a very little.
Are you in a home or?
Yeah, we're in a home.
Okay.
I bought my home at the beginning of quarantine.
Oh, right on.
And we have this one space that it had an odd like triangle shaped piece of concrete in it for no reason as we could tell. I think it used to be part of our patio or like our deck that somebody had just cut back.
Huh. Okay.
But
And they just kind of left the foundation there.
yeah, they left that little bit. So my grandfather-in-law came in with a jackhammer, broke it up, and then I finished the job and pulled it out, filled it back up with dirt, and then I made a raised bed. Right, just have one right now, but it's a 8 foot by 4 foot raised bed. I'm approaching 30, and everybody's joking about how now that we're in, millennials are in their 30s, is everybody just getting into gardening? And I
Right.
was like, I just felt old when I saw that. I was like, yeah, I guess so.
That's awesome.
But I enjoy it.
I haven't for a long time, but I really enjoy gardening. I actually first job I ever had was at a plant nursery, so I got kind of familiar with that.
I never would have guessed.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
never would have
I
guessed.
also had no idea.
yeah. I mean, it was for like 4 months. It was a summer job while I was waiting to go to college. Yeah, I was the loader, so they used me for my size.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I would load all sorts of stuff for people plants. The gals in the storefront just referred to me as step stool. And these were the sweethearts, older gals. But yeah, when it was like needed to reach something from the top shelf, it was like, oh yeah, call Lucas on the radio. He'll get it for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lived in a space that had like 10 acres.
That's great.
For like a year, and so we did some gardening. I love it, but since then I've been in apartments. So
yeah, I have never tried to grow anything up until just these last couple of months. My parents have probably about as much space as we do, but they have been working at it a little bit longer, and their garden every year, their tomato plants are as tall as I am.
Wow.
They're 6 feet tall, and they have hundreds of tomatoes, and they just keep they like offer us some. My mom makes tomato pie, which is like
tomato pie.
It's so good.
I've never even heard of that.
It's so good. I don't even remember what's in it, but it's like tomato, egg, and like pie crust.
Oh, okay. So it's like a breakfast almost.
It's savory. It's more savory than like a breakfast thing. It's so good. I can't even describe what it exactly is, but I just know it's loaded in tomatoes, and she's always got tons of different colors of tomatoes, so it's always just this beautiful, colorful dish. And
Kelsey,
she's got
tomato cobbler.
Well, I'm looking up tomato pie right now on Google.
It's really good.
I have never even heard of that.
No, I never had until she made a bunch of it last year, and I was like, "This is
wow."
She made one and then made another one for us, and it was all it was so good.
It is funny. It seems like anyone who starts a garden, a vegetable garden, there's always more than you can ever have.
Yep.
It's like everyone's always got extra cucumbers that they're trying to pawn off on whoever comes by.
I planted 4 lemon cucumber plants. Lemon cucumbers are one of my dad's favorites. And I've always loved them. They're just small, round lemon cucumbers.
I don't know if I've had a lemon cucumber.
They're really good.
Does it look like a normal cucumber? Is it just like more yellow?
It's small, round, and yellow. It looks like a lemon. It's lemon shaped. Really? It's lemon shaped with
I'm learning all sorts of stuff today.
Prickly edges of like a cucumber that kind of would have.
Huh. Okay.
And it is, it's a vine plant. Which I forgot because it's been years since I've had a plant with it. And I planted 4 of them. They're all 4 doing really well. I haven't gotten any fruit yet, but they have taken over an entire corner of my 4 foot by 8 foot plot to where my strawberries are about to drown in them.
Oh no.
And the strawberries are also supposed to like do the same thing. And I was like just looking at my snap peas that are dying, my pepper plants, that haven't grown too much because the tomato plants are shading them. Yeah. They're giving them too much shade, and they're not getting enough sun, so they're really slow. But the tomato plants got a bunch of flowers on it, still no fruit, but they're probably about waist high right now.
Oh wow, okay, nice.
And it's not a very big raised bed. It's like 8 inches, 6 inches off the ground.
Wow, lemon cucumbers and tomato pie.
Yeah,
that's
lemon cucumbers are great. You just slice them up, a little bit of salt.
Is it sweet?
It's like a.
Or is it just like a cucumber?
It's like a cucumber with a lemon.
Okay, a little tang.
Taste. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really good.
I don't know if I've ever. Yeah, I'll have to look that one up too.
Yeah, it's got tons of flowers. They're doing really well. They're like just waiting for fruit. And my dad is like, "Yeah, I've had one. Got one little lemon cucumber on my plants." I was like, just waiting. And that's the whole part about gardening is just waiting for the fruit.
Waiting game.
And I'm not. I would say that I'm a patient person, but I'm not patient for things that I really just grow.
Right. Yeah.
Just give the fruit. Yeah. So I check them every day, and it's probably obsessive. But
gardening, your father, somewhat newly a father.
Video games.
Gamer. I know you. I'm gonna force the conversation. I know you play D&D also.
Oh yeah, D&D. Of
course. Yeah.
I
Perked up immediately.
for 5 years now
Okay.
that I've been playing
Yeah.
D&D.
Yeah, you and Megan play, right?
Yeah, me and my wife. We started 5 years ago because we're going on 6 years of marriage right now, and it was just something like we were kind of interested in. And after I started playing, I messaged my cousin, who had like always played like imaginary games with me. He was like 6 years older, but he was always just hanging out.
Sure.
He's like, I idolized him as a kid.
Sure.
And we played a game that he called the Olden Days game, where it was all verbal and you would just talk to each other about what you're gonna do. What race. What do you look like? What do you want to? What sword do you want to use? Do you kind of want to use bows? And he would just like walk you through this like verbal dungeon.
Oh, wow.
And then
Okay.
he would say guess a number between 1 and 20, and then I like depending on how close I got was how successful I was. And then after I started playing, I was like, that's just a D20.
Yeah,
Like that's just a D20 dice that you're
yeah.
rolling. I'm just like never. So I messaged him like, I didn't know that you were like not grooming. That's a bad
Right.
term,
I
but,
mean, yeah.
like you were getting me into
Prepping
Dungeons
you
and
to-
Dragons
yeah.
before I
Yeah.
ever knew that Dungeons and Dragons was a thing, and I love it.
That's
I
such
have
a
6
cool, like
characters.
approachable way to get someone, especially younger, into it. Is like
because
get rid of the math for them, make it all just
Mhm.
a storytelling game.
It was just all like so great.
I feel like someone needs to do the research. Maybe it's me, but there's a Venn diagram out there of like boot nerds and D&D nerds.
Yeah, we have a
'Cause
lot in here. We have a lot.
A lot.
We have just Nick's specifically.
That's
I
what I
know of
mean.
like 8 people that play D&D.
So I don't know if you know, Radal plays with me.
Yeah.
I'm his DM, but like you, like Radal, myself, Micah, Abby, found out Ben plays.
Ben plays,
He's
Jake.
got that awesome patch.
Yeah,
The death saves patch.
Jake plays. He's one of our Sanders. 2 of the sewers are sisters, and they play.
Mm-hmm.
Who else plays?
Kelsey's played.
Kelsey's played. Yeah,
Becca's played.
I've
Nate-
run the game for Jesse. Jesse.
Nate did a one shot for us.
That was a lot of
That
fun.
was the only time I've played.
Did you get the bug though?
I did.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not in school anymore, I'm actually
Cool.
thinking about wanting to play
Are
again.
you gonna
so.
join our Friday game with Olivia? Or are you gonna?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to see what my options are. I mean, life has not slowed down since graduating yet, so I haven't really thought about it. But yeah,
No.
Congrats.
it is very fun.
Yeah, congrats on graduating.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I almost said congrats on congratulating, and that's not the right word.
Thank you.
But yeah, I feel like there's other people I haven't thought of, but there's like the
Yeah.
amount of people that play.
I would
here.
say it's a quarter of the staff,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of people now. We could all like come in on a.
I've
we could use
joked
the
about
conference room.
doing
we could just have a massive
like a
D&D
D&D like one shot or something, and Nick's themed, where it's like everyone's proficient with Cobbler's tools, and everyone's got magic boots or something.
That's great.
The main quest
So-
line is gonna be like, I don't know, finding the magical boot. I don't know.
This is now not a Boots podcast.
I know.
This is a Dungeons
I
and
warned
Dragons
Kelsey
podcast.
this was going to turn into just a D&D podcast.
It's all I listen to here, anyways. I just listen to live, actual play podcasts.
I feel like that's going in like 3 different places all up. Like any point in the day in the building, there's someone playing D&D on someone's headphones.
Yep. We started level 1, so like usually we try to start level 3, level 5, just because it gives you a bit more. Your characters aren't going to die from a punch and stuff like that. But we started at level 1, and I already like maxed out my charisma because I rolled so well, and it's like I was pretty proud of that.
Nice. Yeah, it's an endless pit. Once you get into it, it just consumes your life.
Yeah, I think I have 6 different characters. I don't play all of them, but I have 6 different.
That's why
characters.
I'm moving actually, pretty close to Kelsey and Becca, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna start another campaign here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna number 3,
Number 3.
and they're stoked for it.
Oh boy. So excited.
Well, Tyler, my brother, also lives like he's gonna be living right down the street, the opposite direction. So we're gonna get them in as well.
Oh yeah.
Get them hooked. We tried it once, and it just it's too much of a commitment if you don't have time.
We had a rare group too, where usually there's like one person is the eternal DM. We had a rare group where everybody wanted to DM, We had
Oh.
3 different games going with the same group of people.
Oh wow.
So it was a
Does that not
hassle.
get confusing?
It got to the point to where we were like, wait, what? That wasn't
Just
the
start
right.
intertwining.
Yeah, and we had one guy who was he was a older retired guy that was with us, and we were just all like a bunch of like mid-20s, and then he was this older retired guy who was just now getting into it, and he was having so much fun. But it was a hassle for him to keep up to where he was describing where his character was from, and we're like, no, that's the wrong campaign. Like that's an entire other world. And so we had to like give him world info that he could read up on, and he's like, okay, this is but we played from like level 3 to 14 with that group.
Just the other day, where I was like, "Hey, yeah, I'd run a one shot if you guys want to." I was like, "Yes, please,
Yeah.
yes, let me take a break."
The second, anytime a DM gets to step away and be a player is so
because
much
I have like
fun.
10 characters ready to go that I've built out. But it's, I think, I've run forums and stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff of like, should I play with my coworkers? I'm a
It's a lot of fun.
manager. Is this a bad idea? Which I can get the concerns a bit, but honestly, it's been, I feel like, such a good team building exercise. Like it's helped me with like creativity, like thinking on the fly, and then just like understanding the players or coworkers a bit more, and like there's like a level of like problem solving that like you can't get with other team building exercises. So I think it'd be really cool to do a one shot or like
with a bunch of
yeah
everybody in.
yeah, or maybe a couple group games or something like that.
I've thought many times of like, why not a Nix group, because there's so many people to play.
Yeah.
Like there's no shortage of players
Yeah.
and or DMs.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of scheduling.
And-
Scheduling is the arch enemy of every D&D
and-
campaign.
And which person is going to give up the opportunity to be a character and decide to DM it?
I have had
That's why I've thrown the idea out and just waiting for somebody to be like, oh sure, I'll DM it.
with my current bard, he's rich kid, born of money, like no tragedy has ever struck him, and then this backup character would have like all tragedy, like just
Nice.
like every backstory of a character
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah, I think Nick's D&D game be like a monk with a pair of Builder Pros on, just fights with his feet at all times,
oh yeah,
kicking people with a logger heel, or or you could
steel
be
toe,
a dwarf with a giant cobbler's hammer, or a rogue
old
with
French
some
hammer.
leather knives. There's all sorts of fun flavor you could add there.
Your
But,
your leather armor is just one of our aprons.
Yeah. You're just wearing it's just all Nick's apparel. But we dove pretty deep into the weeds there.
Yeah, we did.
So just one last question. What's making you happy today?
What's making me happy today? I mean, talking about D&D is always great.
Okay.
I was excited to get to do this
Yeah.
podcast episode. So I almost forgot about it this morning, and then I got to work. I was like, oh yeah, that's today. Cool. And then I like made the day go by faster.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you.
Of course.
I really appreciate you taking the time.
The cobbler is good.
Yeah.
I can't eat and talk though because I start to choke.
Oh no, that's okay.
It's not burnt at all. Don't you
No,
worry.
it tastes
And
great.
it was cooked
It
all the way
looks-
through.
It looks burnt on the top.
It's just a nice crisp.
It's
You
just
did-
color.
What do you call it?
Yeah.
It's a
Caramelization.
flambe.
Flambe.
Is that what you call it? Will you take the torch to it?
It's a word, yeah.
That's one of the cooking terms.
You could use it.
No, it's just caramelized. It's
That
just
too.
the sugar, just a little darker.
Yeah.
Flambe sounds fancier. But
Well,
okay.
flambe is like alcohol lit on fire.
Oh.
You do it to like.
And this isn't bourbon peach. This is just
like-
peach.
No, this is just regular.
what is it called? Baked Alaskan. Baked Alaska. Like stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to be into the cooking, and then decided culinary school was not the way.
Okay, so there's a third Venn diagram of like chefs, Nick's boots, and
Yeah.
D&D, because Nick also was like in the high end food scene.
I also was a professional.
Baker, yeah.
I could also probably be like a 5-star chef if I wanted to, but
Yeah, if you really wanted to.
I decided to just go with boots instead. But, all right, thanks.
Yeah, of course.